Or coordinating with the Israelis any kind of operations, and there was a lot of messages going back and forth from both sides.
From the tent in Jerusalem to the city of Tel Aviv on Israel's coast, people wonder, why the stalemate?
The government actually never did enough about Gilad Shalit. We can handle this situation with the Hamas, and I think that we can give them their prisoner, and we will get our prisoner soldier.
Actually, I have, a theory that the government knows where he exactly is, and they don't do enough to bring him back, or they don't want to, pay the price for him.
And while others in the army enjoy a moment away from their post, residents nearby read the latest news.
Nobody except for Hamas will know what kind of access Gilad Shalit has to information. But one thing is absolutely clear. If and when he's released, he'll enter a world that is completely different from the one that he knew. Cal Perry, AlJazeera, Tel Aviv.
Officials at the Suez Canal have confirmed 2 Iranian warships have entered the canal. The Iranian vessels are the first to pass through the canal since the Iranian Revolution in 1979. An official working at the canal on Tuesday morning said that the 2 ships were headed for the Mediterranean. The battleship and an accompanying vessel are on their way to Syria. The Rafah border crossing is being reopened to allow Palestinians with special permission to cross to Egypt. The terminal in the border town is the only exit point for Gazans who need to travel. It's previously been opened, but only for residents with exceptional circumstance. Al Jazeera's Nicole Johnson is for us there in Rafah. How long will the border crossing be open on Tuesday?
The border crossing will actually only be open for about 5 hours, which is returning the border to the status quo. And it's only open for a very limited number of people. That's students who are studying abroad, patients and foreign passport holders. But even though it's only a very limited number of Palestinians who will be able to cross through Rafah, people are very relieved that Rafah has reopened because it's been closed ever since the unrest started in Egypt. Our cameraman is just panning across the area where hundreds of Palestinians have been waiting all morning. You can see there's a little bit of an exodus of some of the taxis at the moment. Some people are starting to cross through Rafah, but they won't be crossing through in those cars. They actually cross through in buses. But people are very happy, at least, that Egypt has reopened the border so that people can leave.
It gives the people an opportunity as well to get supplies in, but it's always a worry, is it not, for Israel, who accuse those in Gaza that every time that border is open, munitions to attack Israel will always sneak through.
Well, yes, Israel does, of course, have a lot of concerns about the Gaza-Egypt border. And that's one of the things that Hamas will be talking to Egypt about now that we have a new government in Egypt. Hamas wants the Rafah border crossing to be reopened. Fully reopened, not just for limited categories, but for all Palestinians. And that's something that Israel will be concerned about. But it's definitely what Hamas is trying to push at the moment, though they don't really expect to have any success on that front until the situation in Egypt stabilises.
Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed. I'll let you get out of the way of those taxis, Nicole. We don't want you to certainly end up in Egypt by any misadventure. Thanks very much for joining us there from Rafah. Well, Nazneen Bashiri is one of our other correspondents. Now, she's in Tunisia, joins me from Ras Ajir, which is on the border between Tunisia and Libya. Naz, just a little while ago, we heard from Egypt and a military source there saying that they were going to be reinforcing their border with Libya. Are you getting any word from the Tunisians that they'll be doing the same thing?
Well, let me just describe to you where we are and what we're seeing here in Ras Ajir, which is about 160 kilometres away from Tripoli, right here on the border. We are about 300 metres from the Libyan side of the border. And earlier we had heard that there were no officials or police there, but we have been speaking to people coming across the border, and there are Libyan military along with police securing the border there. And what Tunisians have been telling us, who've been coming across, trickling across in small numbers, I have to say, is that all their belongings are being searched, all their money's been taken, their mobile phones, their electronic equipment. Some of them have been beaten and shoved around. And what they've been telling us about the road from Tripoli to here is that there's a lot more security on that side of the border. Things are quieter, and what they've been seeing is a lot of community security, just ordinary people out and about securing areas, securing roads. But it is a pretty tense situation on the other side of the border. Here where we are, the military have been telling us that they are calling in extra units to this area. They are securing this area. Of course, Tunisia is still under a state of emergency. The army very much present everywhere you go here, and there is a real sense that people are feeling that possibly with an escalation of violence across the border there, we will see a stream of people coming here into Tunisia, because Libyans don't need a visa to come across.
Well, of course, you're monitoring events for us there. We'll come back to you if that situation develops. Thanks very much, Naz. Well, it's been over 6 months since the devastating floods hit Pakistan and displaced more than 20 million people. Now, harsh winter conditions in remote parts of the Swat Valley mean residents are cut off and left to fend for themselves. Kamal Haider reports.
The distance to Kalam may be just 85 kilometers, but right now it seems many times more than that. While the sun may be shining in other parts of the valley, the higher elevations are still under the clouds. It is estimated that up to 4 million people had to spend a shelterless winter because of the devastating floods that destroyed everything here. But even for the survivors whose houses are still intact, it is a perpetual struggle. What was once a proper road is now buried under snow. Some sections were completely destroyed during the recent devastating floods. For the past 5 months, the only way to travel to Kalam has been on foot, and even essential supplies have to be carried on the back. Our camera team walked with a group of people for 10 hours to reach Kalam in Upper Swat, an area now cut off from the outside world and encompassed by blankets of snow. For shopkeeper Shamsul Hadi, it's a constant struggle to keep the snow from threatening his family's mud hut. He says it's very difficult to get in rations for his shop. The cold already claimed the life of his 7-year-old son.
We don't even have the basic necessities of life. We are facing starvation. No medical facilities, no electricity, and no school for our children.
For now, his remaining children can also enjoy a small fire for a bit of warmth. Everyone here wants their government to reopen the road, but so far their pleas have fallen on deaf ears. The poor people of this region simply have to endure these tough times. And it seems they will have to do it on their own. Kamal Haider, AlJazeera, Swat.
At least 36 people have been killed in a stampede in Mali. Over 60 others were injured in the accident on Monday. They were among the tens of thousands of people who attended a religious ceremony in the stadium in the capital. Now, panic swept through when the people